Overthinking is due to taking the mind too seriously. There's nothing to worry about in this play because nothing lasts. So the idea of worrying about what's going to happen in existence is like a man who was told everything that's going to happen and yet he still worries. He was told that he was king, going to be anointed king in a couple months, but he's like, no, I want it now because he's scared of losing it in a couple months. And that makes him never have it in the first place. The problem with life is that there's actually no problem with life. We create all our problems, and that's the beauty of it, is that it's almost too easy to create your own problem. Like, in a sense that, when everything's going well, you wonder, am I going to lose everything? So what? You should actually fall in love with the fact that everything is fleeting. You should confront detachment. You should confront the nature of reality, the emptiness of all things, instead of running away from it. Instead of saying, man, I wonder what's going to happen. Am I going to lose this? Am I going to lose that? Be like, I'm happy if I lose everything because it'll make me closer to the Dharma. It'll make me closer to truth and enlightenment. Because I'm telling you, when you put detachment overall, things like overthinking don't even matter to you because you don't take life seriously. You take the guru's teaching seriously, who tells you to go beyond suffering. And you practice going beyond suffering. And anytime you have a feeling of overthinking or overwhelmed by Maya or life, you go to the guru's teachings and you are reminded of your true nature. So that's called devotion to the guru, taking the Dharma seriously. A lot of people, they know, see, nobody would come to this video if they knew that overthinking wasn't a problem. So overthinking is a problem, it's not your natural state, but you don't practice being in your natural state, abiding in that stateless state that is beyond worry, beyond anxiety, beyond turmoil, beyond things going good or bad. It just is. You see, when we are fooled into thinking that we have a say in this, that we have, even the word, will was taught to us, but we think we have some free will. We have an idea of free will, we have moments of free will, but in the grand scheme of things, we have no free will. I'm telling you, there's a slight chance that you were born with a brain disorder where you wouldn't even be cognitively aware of who you are or this idea of self that you have. But you think you have free will, but it's just genetic chance that you just ended up how you were, and everything is working fine to where you can listen, hear, and then create a story and then respond. In the sense that your brain functioning is due to a miracle, and it's due to God's will. But in a sense, if God wanted you to be deformed in a sense and not able to think, you wouldn't be able to think. You wouldn't be able to function. You'd be connected to tubes. There are people who from birth are connected to tubes and can't function in reality. So start appreciating the fact that God has given you the ability to move throughout life and move through this video game that is called life and have fun with it. But because you're taking this game so seriously, because you're taking the mind so seriously, then you can't actually function in reality how you truly should be. Because I'm telling you, this is your playground. It's the mother's playground, the great mother's playground, and we're supposed to be having fun and enjoying it. Even if we lose everything, we should still smile, because overthinking is due to the fact that you think that you have something to lose. You think that you have something that's important in this world. But I'm telling you, nothing is important in this world. We create importance. We create our own simulation. We create our own concepts and ideas. We are the gods of our own play, in a sense that we're all gods, many gods, just playing around, creating our own perspective. We can create our own hell, we can create our own heaven. So it's like when you give power to the mind, a lot of people say the mind is powerful. No, the mind is not powerful. Your true nature is powerful. Because without your true nature, the mind couldn't appear. If you notice the mind, if you look at the mind, if you see through the mind, it's temporary, it never lasts. But if you pay attention to what's in between the mind, then you'll find out what gives power to the mind. And you'll find out that you can actually go beyond the mind and start to use the mind however you want to. But we're conditioned in this world to just almost be like zombies, always going to one thing and to the next, always going to this and that. So it's no wonder that we have anxiety, because we never have a moment to feel like we're not going on the hunt. It's like nothing's new under the sun, in the sense that in ancient times we were hunting, constantly worrying about food. Now in modern times we're worried about the same thing, but with a little bit more class, I guess. So it's like the anxiety is still there. We're constantly in survival mode. We're constantly wondering, even if we have good friends, we're wondering, man, am I going to lose this? Even if we have a girlfriend, we're wondering, man, am I going to lose this? Because it's not that we're used to being sad, it's that we're not used to being happy. And that's why we overthink. In the sense that you're so desperate to hold on to a version of reality that is within your control. And this is the confusion that people make. When you say, a lot of Westerners, they get this confused, and this is why they don't practice devotion. They're like, oh, I'm God, I don't need to practice devotion. But even Adi Sankacharya, and he's known for being, very Vedantist, very logical. Even he had practiced devotion to the Divine Mother's will. Because when you practice devotion to the Divine Mother's will, that's humbleness. That's surrendering to the divine will, the Tao. But a lot of people, they'll say, "Oh, I am God," and then then it's like when they get cancer, it's like, "Are you really? Why don't you get rid of the cancer? Are you really God?" And then they suffer. When if they surrender to the Divine Mother's will and they knew that it's all their health, their sickness is all up to her, then everything would flow smoothly. But they think, "Oh, I am God. I have all the responsibility." That's why Sage Siddhar Meshwar says, one who is not devoted to a personal God and guru is somebody called overly wise. Because when you think you don't need to be the student, when you think you know everything, then you find out existence is very blunt. The truth is always there. So it's like a lot of people think they're enlightened, but then when it's crunch time and when they're going through suffering, they don't actually devote themselves to going beyond the mind. They don't just devote themselves to not being influenced by certain things that people are saying, and they don't pay attention to the guru's words that are telling you to go beyond words. They pay attention to nonsense. They pay attention to what other people say, what aspects of reality that are not in their control, such as, "Oh, I wonder if I look good today." People literally there's literally people who but the people you think are ugly, they literally think they're beautiful. It's for example, right? So a lot of people, they criticize people for, I guess, their weight and stuff like that. But there's a lot of beautiful women who actually like bigger men, and that's one of the beauties of women is that they teach you a lot of spirituality just in their being, because women are, a lot of people might interpret this as sexist, but women are beyond logic in a sense that they don't really follow what they think society thinks they should be doing. You ever see those? This is why you overthink too, because you think reality is supposed to go your way. A lot of men, they get ripped and stuff like that, and they think, "Oh, women will automatically love me," and then they find out that this woman happens to love maybe a guy with a bigger belly. Not that that's a bad thing, but you know what I mean, in the sense that there's conventional ideas of how you think reality should be, and the reality will go a completely different way. And that's the beauty of women. I feel like, other than my gurus, I feel like I've learned from indirectly women the most, in a sense that I just noticed that women, they refuse to live up to what you think they should be, in a sense, most of the time. So, in a sense, we can learn a lot from just the divine feminine, because every woman is a divine mother, and we're all a divine mother. Everything is a divine mother. But it's like, the divine mother will teach you through women also that, reality is not going to go how you want it to go. And that's beautiful. It's like when we accept that fact and we become Shiva, we become the witnessing consciousness, and we're able to perceive this reality as the game it is, and we just sit back and watch. But it's like when we try to control the divine feminine and we think we have a say in this, then it gets very ugly. And I'm telling you, it's like and it's funny though, the less you try to control the reality, the more it goes your way. But the more you try to control the reality, the more importance you give it. It's like a woman in a relationship. You know how a lot of people say, "Oh, women love men who don't care about them." It's because a lot of the men who don't care about them, supposedly, it's actually because they allow the woman to just be as she is. And it's like, maybe that's not for you, because a lot of people, they might prefer somebody who's a little bit more indifferent to what they do, so they can have, I guess, a little bit more control. So but in a sense, maybe you've been in a relationship like that where you had to, you frustratingly tried to convince somebody that, "Oh, you were always overthinking, always wondering, man, are they going to stay with me?" What? Because you see signs, but it's like you ignore them. And it's like, instead of just accepting the inevitable, then you start to try to change reality and force reality. And that's when you get the most heartbroken. And that's why you start to overthink, is because you have this idea of a future in your head. And it's like, that's why I love, and this is a genderless video too, because even men, women probably go through this with men. Obviously, I'm not a woman, so I'm not, I haven't been with men, so I can't say from direct experience, but I'm sure that women, deal with men completely. They have a future, obviously, they have a future ideal of the man, and he's like, everything could go logically right, and he just completely swerves it. So it's like, that's gonna happen in all romantic relationships, and romantic relationships are actually a great teacher. They teach you to just be comfortable with what is gonna happen, comfortable with what is, comfortable with the fact that another human being is an independent human being, and humans will. I'm telling you, when everything's going straight, humans will just make it crooked. So it's like, learn to see the guru in everybody, in the sense that even in your romantic relationships, learn to practice the Dharma, learn to put wisdom above all, learn to put devotion above all. Because a lot of people, they get into relationships, they get into good situations, and they don't actually practice patience. They don't actually practice the Dharma. They just forget the guru. They're like, "Oh, everything's going well, let me just forget the guru." And that's the worst time to forget the guru, is when everything's going well, because you think everything's going well, and then you'll find out reality has it's about to swerve completely, and you didn't even expect it to turn. It's like, when you're driving in snow, and it's like you think everything's going smooth, and then all of a sudden you swerve. That's exactly how life is. It's It's like we think we have control, but we really don't. It's like there's some people who they died when driving in the snow, but then you survived. Or there's certain situations where you should have died, but you didn't, and somebody else died in that situation. So you have to just constantly remember it's God's will and death, and not take life so seriously because it can end at any time. So taking life seriously is a chronic disease that a lot of people have, and taking the mind seriously is a chronic disease that a lot of people have. But I'm telling you, when you practice devotion to the gurus, the sages, that are here to teach us to go beyond the mind and go beyond taking this stupid world seriously ever again, I'm telling you, you'll be so much more happy. But when you devote yourself to materialism, you'll be constantly worrying about what you're going to get, what you're going to be rewarded with, when there's not, you can't have anything. Even when you get something, it's gone immediately. So why do you worry about losing anything? It's all the Divine Mother's will. That's why I emphasize devotion, because a lot of people, they have intellectual understandings of enlightenment, but when it's crunch time, they don't have that devotion, they don't have that surrender. You should really ask yourself, would I be able to be okay if my closest family member died? Or if my closest family member got cancer, would I still be at peace, or would I constantly be worrying about them the entire time? Because you have to learn to be crazy. You have to learn to accept anything no matter what. And you have to learn to be almost seen by insane by society, because the more at peace you get, the more people will try to bring you into the game of nervousness. It's funny, the less you get out of the grip of Maya, the illusion, the more she tries to grab onto you. It's hilarious. So just learn to be free and not to worry about what's going on in Maya, and just sitting. Jesus said, Guru Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. So you need to find that heaven that is inside of you, that is beyond this world, and can't be interrupted. There's so much beautiful there's so much beautiful quotes by sages and teachings by sages that you can study and stuff like that, and so many lectures that you can listen to. And it's like a lot of people, instead of, they pay attention to celebrities and they wonder why they're not happy. But I'm telling you, it's like when you pay attention to the teachings of the gurus, and it's like that's my main mission, is for the entire world to be saying victory to the sages, because the sages are the embodiments of detachment, and they teach us how to master detachment. So I'm telling you, just I emphasize, a lot of people will say, my message is repetitive, and I'm happy it's repetitive, because the truth is consistent. So I want people, my job is not to impress people. It's to make people fall in love with the Dharma. It's not to entertain people. It's to make people see truth. So I'm not here to entertain. I'm here to train people to help them master their minds and be free and reach their highest potential. So don't ever get caught up in meeting the expectations of reality, even the expectations that you have of yourself, and just be and be free.